Over the past week in the CS market, we've seen a massive rebound in the price correction from that all-time low at the start of October. We did have that small pullback, however, we're now once again at all-time highs, just over $5.8 billion. In the past 7 days, we're up 8.54%, the past 30 days, 8.38%, and in the past 90 days, 13.87%. When we zoom into the overall price graph for the month of September as well as October, we did hit that all-time peak of around $5.58 billion. We did see that pullback of around $200 million to that $5.3 billion mark. And since then, we had a massive price increase right here between October 4th and 5th, back up to around that $5.6 billion mark, and we've continued to see a steady increase over the past few days. Once again, we're seeing some price manipulation in the market. Something like the USPS skins, a lot of these are up over 50 to 60% in the past 24 hours. Even on the 7-day chart, a few of them being up over 100%. Once again, it's mainly focused on those factory new and minimal wear skins. Today, we're going to be taking a look at some of the best skin investments you can make right now in CS2. Even with the price manipulation on a lot of these items, we are taking a look at some mil-spec, classified, or covert skins that we will be holding in the long term in order to make a huge profit. One of the main things that I've noticed in the market over the past few months as well as past few years, a lot of these older collections have been pumping in price over time and seen a massive skyrocket in the past few weeks. We can take a look at something like the M4A4 Hellfire. In factory new condition, when we look at the overall price graph, just in the past month, it's jumped from around $700 Canadian to over $1,600 Canadian, almost a $1,000 increase on a $700 item in simply the past month. When we zoom out to something like the lifetime chart on the M4A4 and zoom into even the past few years, we can see here it was hovering around that $100 mark until recently this year when it did start to increase around that June mark of around $200. We saw a steady increase here and then it flattened out for a little. However, at the end of August, we saw that massive price increase when the market was being manipulated, and we can see right now it's sitting at over $1,600. I actually attempted one of these trade-ups back in August of 2023, which we can see was around that $100 price point. I didn't sell off this item, and now we currently have an item worth almost $1,500. Because of the massive price increase over the past few months on something like the M4A4 Hellfire, when we take a look at the restricted skins from the same collection, we can see here the price is now sitting at around $90, $300, $200. These are some insane prices from these restricted items that a few months ago were a lot less money. When we take a look at the Steam market for something like the P90 Death Grip, this item is an item that can be traded up to something like the Hellfire. Although the chances are extremely low, if you do only have one of these items in the trade up, it still has a chance to hit one of those insanely priced items, and because of this, the price on something like the P90 or any of the fillers in that same collection have been going insane in price. When we take a look at the market, even in the past month, we can see it shot up from around the $18, $19 mark to over $50 to $60 in simply 1 month. Because the Hellfire prices have been increasing, luckily I did snipe one of these items on a third-party site for 15 Canadian dollars, and in 1 week time, I will be attempting a Hellfire trade-up on my main channel. The first main collection that I'm investing into right now into some of these skins to use as trade-up fillers in the future is the Sport and Field collection. One of the main reasons being is it's still active in the CS2 armory, and because of this, a lot of the mil-spec as well as covert skins are extremely cheap in price on the Steam market. I'm going to be staying away from those factory new skins and picking up field tested or minimal wear. A lot of the field tested items in this trade up can be used to get a minimal wear skin from this collection. Same goes with minimal wear, upgrading to a factory new skin. Because of this, we're going to be picking up a lot of these cheaper restricted or mil-spec items from this collection in order to eventually chain a trade up to the M4A1S. The price on the M4A1S right now is sitting at over $1,000. However, in the far future, I definitely think this will be over $2,000. From this collection right now, I will be heavily focusing on the mil-spec items. Due to the prices on a lot of these right now, we can see the cheapest one currently in mil-spec is the small game. Even in factory new condition, it's around $6 Canadian. Definitely a great buying opportunity to pick these up in that field tested and minimal wear float. One of the main reasons I'm focused on the M4A1S Fade in the future for trade-ups is due to the rarity of the skin. When we take a look at all the M4A1S skins in CS2, however, we turn it to only items that are not unboxable, we can see a huge list of a few M4A1S skins that cannot be unboxed in CS2. A lot of these are recent skins. However, one thing you will notice from today's entire list right here, we only have one covert item, which is the M41S Fade. Because of this rarity, I think we have a massive price potential for the M41S Fade in the long term. Currently, even though it is still active, we're sitting under that $1,000 mark. However, once this item does get removed from the armory, I definitely think we will see over $1,000, which is great for any trade-up fillers that you can use to work your way up towards this M41S Fade. Even when we take a look at some of the classified skins like the Hot Rod, as well as the Blue Phosphor, although these are older collections in CS2, we're at over $1,000 as well as over $3,000 on this item. Another potential focus in the future could be the Stratosphere. However, the Ascent collection will definitely be in the game for a long period of time, so that's why I'm heavily focusing on the M41S Fade at the current moment. The other case that I'm focusing on for any skins to buy as a long-term investment will be the Gallery case. This is the newest case to be removed from the game, and it also has been added to the discontinued case pool, which is only with 3 other cases. Just like the M41S Fade, once again we have another covert M41S skin in this case, although it can still be unboxed with any of the cases on the market or items that people have in their inventory. Unlike something like the M41S Fade, when it does get removed, it will be unachievable unless you're doing a trade up. Eventually, in the long term, this is definitely how a lot of people will be getting the Vaporwave, is with trade ups in CS2. Because of this, once again, we're going to be heavily focusing on any of the mil-spec as well as restricted items. Since this case hasn't increased in price in the overall market, since it has been removed, we have seen some small increases, however, not a massive jump, closer to around any of those other discontinued cases at that $9 to $20 mark. We can pick up a lot of these mil-spec skins for still very cheap on the Steam market. We can see even in factory new, they're around $3.70 to $3.90. Definitely a great pickup to hold for the long term. As I had mentioned earlier in the video, we will be picking these up in either field tested or minimal wear in order to increase the overall float value of the item that we do get and to build up into trade ups. We can see here if we have 10 items from the Gallery collection at around that 0.9 float, we can see our odds to profit currently if we did this trade up is around 60%, with 3 of these items being in factory new. We can see 2 of them are still in minimal wear, however they're very close to that factory new float. We could always pick these up with an extremely low float if we do hit these and use them to chain to another trade up to a restricted, classified, or covert item in the same collection. Because of how these trade ups work, when the M41S Vaporwave does increase in price in the future, we will see a price increase on any of the other items followed in the collection, such as the classified, restricted, as well as mil-spec items. They will all increase in price as the top items do, because people will be attempting these trade-ups. With all of this information, I'm personally going to always be buying the cheapest mil-spec skins from this collection, as well as restricted items. If you're on that lower budget, I would highly recommend starting with mil-spec and just holding those for the future, and then possibly with your profits, getting into a next collection or item that you do see the same potential in, and then starting to pick up some of those restricted skins. Even if you're grabbing the mil-spec, they can trade up to these restricted. It's just one extra trade in the chain. However, a lot of people will attempt that in the future. And those are some of the skins that I personally think will have a massive price increase in the far future. When a lot of these items do increase, these are definitely some great holds for the distant future for trade-ups that you can either attempt yourself or eventually sell them off on the Steam market to other people attempting these trade-ups. Like I mentioned a few times, field tested as well as minimal wear, and any of those mil-spec or restricted items. If you enjoyed this video or found it insightful, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.